Hood vents are a great way to make your car look cool, and if you install them in the right place, they're a great way to improve the performance of your vehicle. In this video, we're going to be going over how to install hood vents in your car. Now, before we get too far into how to actually install it, I want to go over how to pick the proper place for a hood vent. For a hood vent to be effective, you want a higher pressure region under your hood and a lower pressure region above the hood so that these vents draw air through your engine bay, through your radiator and your intercooler, and thus improve the cooling performance of those parts and allow you to get more out of your vehicle. My name is Cash and you're watching Cashed Out Cars, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to install hood vents in your car. Let's get started. Once you've done your research on where you want to install your hood vents, you need to mark up your hood for their placement. So what I did is make a straight edge between these 2 points here, since these are relatively straight on a Miata hood, and I marked a center line based on the distance between these 2 points here, and off of that I was able to measure out and determine where I want these hood vents to be. So this is right where I want them. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is tape around them so I have an outline of where I want these hood vents, and then we could go from there. Alright, so that's going to give me a really good idea of where I'm going to need to cut this thing. Now, to help protect the paint during the actual cutting, I'm putting an extra layer of tape down here. And I'm just going to tape everywhere where I'm going to need to cut. So with this vent, it sticks on top of the hood, and I need to basically have that surface area there with that tape available to stick right onto the hood. So I'm going to tape in about, I don't know, 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch inside that outer edge to be able to go ahead and get a nice cut line. Alright, that's looking good. So now I've got that taped off where I'm going to cut, and I drew a line on there to mark the outside of this vent. So now I want to drill a hole slightly in here to get that nice radius right there. So I'm going to go ahead and mark those spots now. Alright, that's looking good. Next up, you're going to want to go ahead and center punch the center of each of those holes that you're going to want to drill. This will help you get a perfect lined up drill when you go ahead and do it. Once everything's center punched, you could grab a small drill and go ahead and drill on each of your marks. Alright, now everything is pilot drilled and it's ready to step up in bit size. Now we're going to go ahead and use this bigger bit to get a nice radius on every one of those corners. Then you could go ahead and vacuum up your chips. You don't really want to brush this stuff on your hood if you want to keep the paint really nice. For me, the paint's already not nice, but I'm still going to vacuum it rather than brush the stuff off. The last thing that we're going to need to do here is mark off where we're going to actually need to cut. You could go ahead and take a straight edge. I'm just using a piece of paper in this case because it's easier. And mark out the lines that you're going to need to cut. Next, you could go ahead and grab some kind of grinder or metal cutter and just carefully cut on your lines that you just made there. Now, you want to cut just inside your lines so you don't make the cut too big for the vent, but basically you want to just carefully cut that and go all the way around, and then this piece will be able to come out. Alright, there's one cut done. We need to go ahead and do the rest of those, and then we'll be in good shape. Alright, so now we've got that main piece of the hood off, and as you could see, there's a lot of bracing under there. So you're going to sort of use the same process, use a cutting wheel and cut off some of that bracing. Now note that this absolutely will make your hood more flimsy, and you might have to reinforce it depending on what kind of vents you are putting on here. If you're already using some pretty strong aluminum vents, that'll sort of reinforce the hood. If you're using some plastic ones like me, I may need to find another way to reinforce this. Alright, so here we go. Obviously we got the nice hole in the hood for that vent, and now I'm just going around and cleaning up all the sharp metal with a file just so I don't cut myself and so other people don't cut themselves. And once you're happy, you could pull off the tape to reveal the surface that you're going to stick that vent to. Once you've got your holes all cut out and they're sized right for the vents, you could go ahead and place them on there and make sure you're happy with them. So with these vents, these things were made to stick up above the hood and sit like this, but I didn't love the way that looked. I didn't really like how far up these things sat, so I ended up taking off the adhesive from this side and flipping these things around so they're inset into the hood like this. Now, there was a small trade-off there. The plastic quality on this side isn't quite as good and it's not quite as smooth, but I think that looks much better overall, so that's how I'm going to install these things. If the vents that you're installing are a tape-on kind, you want to clean the surface that you're going to apply that tape to with something to degrease it and make sure it's clean, and really make sure that your tape gets the best adhesion that it can onto that surface. So I'm using a denatured alcohol here. It's a light cleaner that's pretty good at getting grease off, and it won't really damage your car at all. So that's why I like to use this stuff, and it works pretty good. So I'm just going around where I'm going to stick on my tape and making sure it's clean. Once your surface is good and clean, you could go ahead and peel off the two-way tape on your vent. And then you could get ready to stick it on. So make sure that your vents are facing the right way to the back of the car if you're trying to install a vent and not a scoop. And also have something to use as a reference point for where you actually want to stick this thing, because once you stick it on there, it's going to be a bit hard to unstick it. And then go around the outside of the vent and press the thing down into place. Now, lots of people would just stick these things on and call it a day, say it's good enough. I mean, it's pretty stuck on there. But to give this thing a little bit of extra structure, I'm going to go ahead and rivet each corner to just help keep that vent in place and make sure I'm not going to lose it while driving around. Also, a lot of the higher end aluminum and different metal vents require you to rivet them in rather than just two-way tape, and in general the cheaper vents use the two-way tape, which obviously isn't quite as strong, and if you're cutting out a lot of your hood, just using two-way tape isn't going to get you the rigidity back that using rivets and an all aluminum vent would do. The process here is going to be the same as if you were pretty much riveting anything. You want a center punch to get a good location of where the rivet's going to go. Then you'll go ahead and take your drill and drill those locations. And then you could go ahead and put your rivets in and suck them right down. And so guys, that is going to wrap up this video. One concern that a lot of people have with hood vents is that water and stuff like that could get into your engine bay, but realistically, as you're driving around, water's already getting pulled in through the front of your car and splashing up into the engine bay, and most of the connectors, if not all, in your engine bay are already waterproof, so you really don't have to worry about that. Don't place your hood vents over critical electrical components like a fuse block or an uncovered battery and stuff like that, and you'll be in good shape. So with that said, like this video if you enjoyed it, and if you learned something, subscribe for more how-to videos for all things cars, and I hope you stick around for the next one. Take care.